welcome to Cooking with Miss Zuba. And this week we're going to use kale. So I'm going to show you a couple of different recipes using kale. The first thing I'm going to do is make kale chips, and those are really good and easy to make. So here in the bowl I have some kale that I washed and also took off the stem. So as you can see, these are nice big pieces, okay? You don't want to cut it up into real small pieces. You want some nice pieces because these are going to be going into the oven, and once they bake, they're going to shrink up and get nice and crispy. So we're going to start with some oil. You can use olive oil or vegetable oil, whatever oil you like. Okay, and what I'm going to do is just kind of get them coated with all this oil, so when I put the seasonings on it, it sticks to the leaves, because that's what gives it the flavor, and they are really good when we add your seasonings. As you can see, I just want them nice and coated with the oil. So when it comes to the seasonings, you can add whatever you like, I have some onion powder, garlic powder, salt and pepper. I also have some curry powder here. I have cayenne pepper if you want to add a little bit of spice to your kale. If there's other seasonings that you like, feel free to add them in. It's whatever you like. I'm going to wash my hands and we're going to start seasoning our kale. Okay, now we're ready to season our kale that's been coated in oil. I'm going to add some salt and just sprinkle it on. And what's great about this is once you add all your seasoning and you toss it together again, you can taste it and see if it needs anything else, and then you can just add whatever else you might like. All right, so that was the pepper. I'm gonna add some garlic powder, some onion. Okay, and this time, usually I just do the salt and pepper, garlic and onion powder, but I'm gonna add some curry powder and give it a little bit of the curry flavor to it. And a little bit of the cayenne pepper, not much, just a little, that's it. Okay, now again, I'm gonna toss it all together and kind of get those leaves coated in those seasonings that I put in here. Oops, pick that up. There we go. Okay. Now, I'm gonna actually give it a taste and see if they all got seasoned. That's good. Okay, so now I'm going to put on the baking sheets that I have here. I'm going to spread it out on both of them. Okay, there we go. Add a few here, kind of spread them out because we want them to get nice and crispy, and they'll be delicious. I tell you, they're better than potato chips and healthier for you. Okay, here we go. They're gonna go right in the oven. We're gonna let them crisp up. Alright, I'm gonna set the timer for 10 minutes, then I'm gonna check them and see if they need to stay longer. Alright, and in 10 minutes we'll have some kale chips. Okay, so now we're gonna make kale fritters. As you can see, I have some kale here that has been chopped up. Okay. So you have to take it off the stems and just chop it up. And there's probably about, I'm gonna say 5 to 6 cups of kale when you have to pack it down into your cups when you measure out. But basically what I did, I just took a bunch of kale that I bought at the grocery store and just chopped it all up. You could get the kale already chopped, that comes in a bag. You can use that. But this, I just took the fresh kale and chopped it up myself. Now over here, I have 2 cups of shredded red cabbage I'm gonna add to it. And over here is some shredded carrots. I'm gonna add that to it as well. I like to add some different vegetables in there to get different texture and different flavors to go through. Okay, and then I have some onions here that I sliced up really thin that I'm gonna add to it as well. All right, so now in here I have 3 eggs, and I'm going to add, what do I have here? Half a cup of water to my eggs. And I'm going to whisk those. Because I'm making my batter here for the kale fritters. And I got half a cup of wheat flour. And I'm just gonna add that in there. You can use white flour. Wheat flour is a little bit healthier. You can use gluten-free flour if you want to do a gluten-free one. Okay, so here we go with our seasonings again. Of course, we're going to add our salt and pepper. The only problem with this is that you have to cook some of it first before you taste it to see if it needs more seasoning. Not like the kale chips. You can just taste them. Because of the eggs, you can't do that. So some salt and pepper, some garlic powder. That should be good. And even though I already have some fresh onions in there, I'm still going to add a little bit of onion powder. All right, let me mix that all together. There we go. Okay, so before I pour that into my kale, I'm going to toss my vegetables together, my kale with the purple cabbage and the carrots and the onions. Get that all tossed together and mixed. There we go. Break up some of these onions. Okay, now I'm going to pour my batter over. And I'm hoping that this is enough. Sometimes I have to add more batter to it. Let me move these things out of the way. And now what you want to do is just kind of mix all this together. The batter is to help it so it stays together when you form your like little patties to fry, because we're going to be frying these. All right, the timer just went off, so let's check our kale. Oh, these look and smell great. I'm gonna put them right here. As you can see, they're nice and crispy. Oh, look at that. I can't wait to try these, but we're gonna wait and let them cool down a little bit, because they're gonna be way too hot for us to eat these right now. So while these cool, we're gonna go and make our kale fritters. Okay, so now I have some vegetable oil heating up over here. I have my little spatula ready and my kale fritters mixture. So this is what it looks like once it's all mixed together. I'm gonna let this oil get a little bit hot. So you don't want it too hot, about medium-high heat, because you don't want them to burn. But the other thing too is you don't want them to flip them too many times so they don't fall apart. So I'm gonna try one. and basically just grab some of the kale and squish it together and carefully drop them in there. They do splatter. Okay, I'm gonna drop another one. There we go. So here we go. We're just gonna make this little balls. Just grab some in your hand, make them into balls, and just put them down into the oil. Oil does not need to be on a high temperature, but it does need to be hot. And if you find that when you're making these, that it's now, they're falling apart and they're not staying together, then make more batter and add to it, okay? Because you want them to stay together. Let's see if I can squeeze one more in there. There you go. So we're just going to let those fry. Okay, so now these have been cooking in here, frying I should say, for a couple minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start flipping them. And when you flip them, just be very careful. There you go. So you want the underneath to be nice and brown and crispy. You see how that is? Okay, and then here we go. This one, whoop. Yeah. Just be very careful with the hot oil. Oops, there it goes. Okay, so now we're gonna let these cook for a little bit longer, a few more minutes. And once they're nice and brown and crispy, I'm gonna take them out and put them on the paper towel to let the rest of the oil be absorbed in there. And then we're gonna give them a try. Okay, we are all done here. As you can see, we have our kale chips, which are really good. And here are our kale fritters. So these are all done. As you can see, they're nice and brown on both sides. So when you're frying them, you wanna make sure that they're well cooked all the way through. And over here, I have some sour cream with dill and some diced, minced red onion, all in there mixed up. And we're gonna use that to go with our fritters. But feel free to use whatever you like. Honey mustard sauce goes really well with that. Or if you like hot sauces, you can try hot sauce as well. So I hope you give this a try, some kale chips and kale fritters, and let me know how yours turned out. I hope you enjoy this. See you next time.